think Lopetegui has a problem at West Ham, and it's nothing new. David Moyes had the same issue last season, and it's certainly not a bad one. It's a positive problem. That word usually has a negative connotation, however, I didn't know how else to word it. So, Lopetegui has a positive problem at West Ham, and it's in the shape of Lucas Paqueta and Mohammed Kudus. How does he get the best out of both in a match without impacting Jarrod Bowen? I think the majority would agree that Bowen's best position for West Ham is out on that right hand side. That's where he produces his best numbers and his best moments in the West Ham shirt. For sure, he's played up front and he's done alright up there. However, I think his best work has come out there. So the question is, and the positive problem is, can Lopetegui get the best, the maximum out of Lucas Paqueta, Mohammed Kudus and Jarrod Bowen in the same game? Because I'm not sure. I'm unconvinced you can get the best out of all three. Now, I'm intrigued by what you guys think at home, so please do get involved in the comments below. I'll be back a little later on today to see what you're all coming up with. I think there will be a majority conclusion, which involves Lucas Paqueta playing central midfield. Now, I'm going to run through some options today and give my thoughts on it. However, I am intrigued. Can Lopetegui do this? Now, if you're new to Hammers Chat, please do subscribe. Also, drop a like on the video as well by clicking thumbs up. Both things are free and takes a handful of seconds. Now, the reason for this problem is because I don't think Moyes ever cracked it. And I'm not sure Moyes could have ever cracked it. But one thing I was looking forward to in pre-season was, well, what are you doing with Mohammed Kudus? Not so much Lucas Paqueta, but because I think we've seen the best of him to some extent at West Ham. But in terms of Kudus, I don't think we have. I think there's another level, even two more levels for Kudus to go, because I just think he's an exceptional talent. So in pre-season, I was really looking forward to seeing what Lopetegui was doing with Kudus, especially because for the first 2/3 of pre-season, Bowen and Paqueta weren't there. So Kudus was going to be the main man in pre-season. So in the friendlies, I was hoping to see Kudus in the number 10 role. Now, Kudus made a comment early on in pre-season regarding how Lopetegui likes his wingers to play, and that suits him. And I thought that was quite important and intriguing. It would maybe suggest that he's had conversations with the head coach and has been informed he will be playing as a winger. But the way that wingers play under Lopetegui, you come inside quite a lot and you're not hugging the touchline or anything. You drift in field and become, I guess, two number 10s to some extent. Don't think I've really seen that against Aston Villa at the weekend. I thought Kudus was quite wide on the left hand side for the majority of the game before being switched over. Then when he was switched over, I thought he was quite wide over on the right hand side. But that was what Kudus said, how Lopetegui uses his wingers, and I thought that was quite important. Perhaps not encouraging, because I was hoping he's going to be playing in the number 10 role a little bit more often. But one of the disadvantages of Copa America and the Euros was by the time Paqueta and Bowen came back, there was only one friendly. Well, there was two, Crystal Palace, but them two played in the secret game that nobody's seen that we won. Then Kudus obviously played later on in the game where we got battered. But the Celta Vigo one, he played all three, Kudus, Paqueta, Bowen from left to right in that order. That was the indication. Kudus will be on the left-hand side. I didn't necessarily like it, but I understood it. I get why Lopetegui's going with that. Against Aston Villa, same thing. I get it. Don't necessarily like it, but I understand why he's going with this at the start of the season. I think it gets the best out of Bowen. I think it possibly gets the best out of Lucas Paqueta, but I don't think it gets the best out of Kudus. But funnily enough, on Saturday, I thought Kudus was the best player out of the three of them on that left-hand side. Now, I will add context to my opinion on Kudus' performance, which is in the first half, I think he struggled. I think he was okay at best in the first half against Aston Villa. Second half, though, I thought he was absolutely fantastic. He was battering Matty Cash from the 45th minute up until the 60th, whatever minute it was, until Somerville came on and he went over onto the right-hand side. Then I thought it was a fair battle between him and a fresh Maatsen. You know, Maatsen was involved in the second goal when Kudus was in no man's land, really. He wasn't marking him for sure, neither was Vladimir Soufal. I'm not going to criticise Kudus for that per se, but I just feel that when he went over onto the right, it took him out of the game a little bit. However, Somerville picked up the good work against Matty Cash, and I thought he had a really good run at him as well before he went off. But bar that second half period, that 20 minutes, I thought Kudus wasn't at his best. And when he was at his best, down that left, it was beat your man and cross it. Whereas if he was on the other side, he'd be beating man, have a shot or whatever. I think he'd be better on the right-hand side. But that's Jarrod Bowen's position. So what do we do? Well, I think I know what I'd like to see. However, it raises the question, well, what about Somerville? I think he is possibly just going to have to be patient. I think he's just going to have to wait and do what he did on Saturday. Come on, impress and be patient. Eventually, hopefully, you'll displace one of those three in the team. Because subbing Bowen, yes, there would have been fitness issues because Bowen hasn't had a full pre-season, etc. But I think Lopetegui subbing Jarrod Bowen was bold. I didn't necessarily agree with the sub, but after listening to what people said in the comments of the review, I get it a bit more now and understand. I can see the positives of subbing him. The message is clear. Nobody's safe in my 11. However, if it is a fitness thing, I think Bowen would understand. See, I'm coming off because I'm not fit rather than because I've not been good enough. So I'm intrigued to see how quickly he is to sub Bowen if he needs to going forward. But we can only go on the one game so far, and that is that nobody's untouchable in Lopetegui's 11. And I like that. I do like it. I think that was one of my criticisms of David Moyes. It felt like one or two players would play poorly and play next week. Play poorly, play next week. And I get it for some players. Actually, I think Bowen is one of those players I will give a pass to, because it's not often he has 2 or 3 bad games in a row. He will eventually turn up, and when he turns up, he turns up. So I'm a bit more patient with players like Bowen, and when we've had the likes of Declan Rice in the past as well. And I guess you could argue that that applies to Kudus and Paqueta as well. But when you've got Somerville there, I think it changes that mentality, which is before you didn't really have anybody to replace Jarrod Bowen. Maxwell Cornet, Fornals, Ben Rama. You're not really taking Bowen out for those. You'd rather have a poor performing Bowen than one of those in the team. But now, I'm not sure that's the case with Somerville. Now, I feel like I know what the majority are going to say. Put Paqueta central midfield next to Rodriguez. I think that's going to be the majority down below. However, I am not keen on it, and I'll discuss why. Because I don't think he offers the defence protection. However, if it's protection you're looking for, then that is exactly what Surfshark VPN gives you when you are online. It keeps your personal details private, even if you're attached to public Wi-Fi. You might be on a train, you might be in a hotel lobby or something, you're on public Wi-Fi. Surfshark keeps you safe. If you're remote working, hot desking is becoming more and more popular. VPN from Surfshark still keeps you safe in these situations. Now, with Hammers Chat, we've got an offer. If you sign up using our link or use the code Hammers Chat, you will get 4 months free. And you have unlimited devices. One account, unlimited devices. So I signed up once. I've got it on my computer, I've got it on my phone, I've got it on my tablet as well. All covered under one account. Plus, if you don't like it, you've got 30 days to get a full refund, and it's not difficult to obtain your refund from Surfshark either. Other companies can sometimes make it really difficult to get that money back. However, Surfshark do not. You go onto the website, you click that you want a refund, click a couple of buttons. Obviously, they just say why you're leaving. It allows you to give them feedback so that they can learn. But a few clicks later, you get your refund from Surfshark as well. So stay protected online using Surfshark VPN. You can join up, links in description below. And also, my favourite thing about it is changing your geolocation. So if you're abroad, you can change your location that you're in the UK and you can access your usual content. There you go, links in description below. Stay safe while you are online. Protection, that is what I do not think Lucas Paqueta offers our defence as a number 8, shall we put, next to Rodriguez. I think this is what most people will say. Can we have a bit of this? Because Paqueta will go into midfield. Kudus moves into number 10. Somerville comes over to the left-hand side. There you get your best out of Kudus, hopefully, your best out of Bowen, and hopefully your best out of Paqueta. I just remain unconvinced. I don't think he's disciplined enough, and I don't think he's hard-working enough. I think it's not that I don't think he's hard-working. I think he's hard-working in the right areas of the pitch. But often when we're watching West Ham, I'll see him walking about, I'll see him out of position, and he's not busting a gut to get back. I'm okay with that because he's your attacking, creative flair player, but it does feel like other players have to cover for him when he's in that sort of number 10 role, or even when he's out on that left-hand side. Last season, he'd go central to pick up the ball, to influence the game. This is good. I don't want to stop him doing that. But at times it did mean Ward-Prowse in particular was having to go out to the left-hand side to help Emerson out because Paqueta was now central. So I do feel like his teammates have to cover for him at times. However, he's good enough to have that requirement in order to get the best out of Paqueta. Defensively, I'm just not sure. I just don't think... I know people will say Brazil, however, it's a bad Brazil team. They haven't really achieved anything. And I think playing for Brazil is a bit different compared to playing for West Ham. Somebody suggested, Toby, who... He's a good subscriber. I'm not saying Toby's wrong. This is opinion. I just disagree with him. But Toby... I agree with Toby on a lot of things. And he said, but he'd play there for Man City. I agree. I think he would play as a number 8 for Man City. And I think he'd do well as a number 8 for Man City. I just think it's different. I think he'd have Rodri behind him. They'd have the possession for 75% of the game. Now, we had it for 51% against Aston Villa. An increase by 20-odd percent compared to last season when we got a point against Villa. I'm just not sure Paqueta works. Now, maybe we need to try it to see if it does. I may be surprised and it might work. However, there's maybe been a reluctance from David Moyes and now Lopetegui's come in and he hasn't tried it yet. Would suggest that the managers agree, but it may come to the point where he's sort of forced to do it in order to get those attacking players into the team. I think that would be the most common suggestion in the comments below. I've got a feeling that, and I understand why. It's just not for me. So what would I like to see? I think I would like to see what David Moyes did. Not the style of football or anything like that. Okay, don't put words into my mouth here. In terms of player selection and where they would play on paper. So if you did your tactics board, where would they play? Well, Rodriguez next to someone. Who that someone is, I don't know. It's not going to be Edson Alvarez anyway. He's not back until the Fulham game, which comes on the 14th of September after the international break. So we ain't seen Edson Alvarez until then, which I don't think anybody expected. So we've got a couple of games where there's a vacancy next to Rodriguez. I'm not discussing that in this video. My point is, somebody goes next to Rodriguez, right? Long term, Alvarez, hopefully. Bowen on the right, Kudus in the middle, Paqueta on the left. I think Paqueta was good on that left-hand side. Is it the best out of Paqueta? Maybe not. But I think it increases the chances of getting the best out of Mohammed Kudus. I want to see him centrally. I really want to see Kudus in that central role for West Ham. I think his pace, his power, his dribbling is incredibly unique in terms of the way he can go at speed. He fends off players. The amount of times people grapple him, he just shrugs them off as if they're not there. He is such a unique footballer. And I think in terms of having an impact on the game, I think Kudus could do that more often or more damaging than Paqueta whilst playing in the number 10 role. And this isn't dismissing Paqueta or anything like that. I just rate Kudus highly and I think there's much more to come from him. Whereas Paqueta, I think we've seen the best of him in the West Ham shirt. Listen, there'll be some games he will be the best player on the pitch by a mile. There will be. However, I think we've seen that last season. I think some games last season, like against Wolves, he was the best player on the pitch by a mile. I just think Kudus has got another level to go at West Ham. I don't think we've seen the best of Mohammed Kudus yet. We've seen it in glimpses, but I just think he can offer more. And I think the way to get that out of him is by moving him into that number 10 role. So Paqueta on the left. Now, while I think it might impact Lucas Paqueta, I think what it does do is it increases the performance of Emerson behind him as well. That partnership last season was fantastic. Their link-up play was brilliant. Against Celta Vigo, I know it was only friendly, but against Celta Vigo, they looked like they were enjoying themselves, Paqueta and Emerson, with that link-up play. Don't think I've seen it enough against Aston Villa. A tough opponent for sure. But I think that was one of the most positive partnerships we've seen at West Ham in recent seasons, the Emerson and Paqueta one. Putting Paqueta out there gets the best out of Emerson, I think, going forward. And if we're going to put more emphasis on our fullbacks getting further down the pitch, which I think we are under Lopetegui, then I think Paqueta over there with Emerson will allow us to get the best out of our left back. That's what I would like to see personally. There is, of course, the other alternative, which I think a few people will suggest, which is Somerville coming into the left-hand side, Paqueta staying in number 10, Kudus going to the right, and Jarrod Bowen going up front, or perhaps Bowen on the right and Kudus up front. which I'd be inclined to see, I guess. But I just think if we are going to spend 25 million on a striker, and your solution is to play Jarrod Bowen up front, I think something's gone wrong with your 25 million. Obviously, you've got Antonio as well on top of that, and as well as Danny Ings. But you get my point. You buy a striker. I think it's fair to expect that when West Ham spend 25 million on a striker, I expect him to play as a striker and not to play second fiddle to the right winger going up front. So I'm not sure on that one. Personally, I think Lopetegui will stick with what he did on Saturday, which is Kudus, Paqueta, Bowen, and then maybe a full crew up front this time. And then somebody next to Rodriguez. I think it'll be Thomas Souček. Like I said, I understand why some don't think he had a good game. I think Lopetegui might see that differently. He was our biggest goal threat on Saturday, Thomas Souček. I'd argue he was our only goal threat on Saturday. So I think he will retain his spot next to Rodriguez. I think the only change we might see is a striker and the right back. Possibly Todibo coming in. But I think Mavropanos did alright. But I think we'll see Wan-Bissaka come in. And we might see Fulcru come in. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the only changes, personally. Now, apologies. I've got a croaky voice this morning for some reason. Anyway, that's it. I think Lopetegui has a positive problem. How do you get the best out of Paqueta and Kudus and Bowen? I don't think Moyes managed it. And this isn't a dig at David Moyes. I don't know if you can. I don't know if you can get the best out of all three of them on the pitch at the same time. I wouldn't be surprised if one of our best performances this half of the season comes with one of them dropping out. Maybe Lucas Paqueta. It might be Somerville, Kudus, Bowen. I wouldn't be surprised if Lopetegui's got to get ruthless in order to get the best out of his three attacking midfielders at once. Because Somerville's best on the left compared to the middle or the right hand side. That's his best position. And I think that's only applicable to Somerville. Out of our four attacking midfielders, only Somerville can you say that about. The right hand side, Bowen, make a case for Kudus. In the middle, Paqueta, make a case for Kudus. I think Lopetegui might have to get ruthless. The problem would still remain. How do you get the best out of those three? I'm not sure you can. I was hoping to see something in pre-season which would indicate he can. I've yet to see it. We're only one game in. But we're also seasoning with David Moyes as well. But wait and see. Get involved in the comments. I'm intrigued to what you guys say on this one. It's just something I've been wondering about pre-season. Hoping to see something. Haven't seen anything yet. And on Saturday, I thought Kudus was wasted out on the left in the first half. Smashed it the second half. But I still think there's more to come from Kudus. He is an exceptional footballer. And I want to see the best of him in a West Ham United shirt. And to do that, I don't think he plays on the left hand side. Get involved in the comments. Please do drop a like on the video if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe to the New Hammers chat. Catch you in a bit.